Hi guys, today we're going to be decluttering my concealers. So if you guys like declutters, then definitely keep on watching. I don't know how brutal of a declutter this will be. So if you're looking for me to declutter half of this, I don't know if that will be the case. So I don't want to disappoint anyone, but I am going to try to be realistic. I will try to give you mini speed reviews. I hope that this is relaxing, informative, all of the above. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and let's go ahead and get into it. So let's start off with my current favorite concealer, and let me move these out of the way. I have, as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 concealers. And as you can also see, a lot of these are the same formula, but just in multiple shades, because when I find a formula that I like, I usually purchase more than one shade so I can use a brighter shade under my eyes, a deeper shade on my face, or in the summertime when I'm a little bit more tan. So I like to have options when it comes to my concealers shades. So in terms of formula, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So let me move these out of the way and we'll go each formula. The newest concealer in my collection, and also my current favorite, is the Tower 28 Swipe Right Serum Concealer. I have two shades, number 2 BU and number 4 DTLA. See if I can do a little mini swatch for you guys in case you were interested. So there's DTLA. It's a very good match for my skin tone. I think it blends in pretty well. It's a little bit more cool tone than my skin, but overall I think it's a pretty good match. And then unfortunately the doe foot broke off on my other one. I'm so sad about it, but I've just been kind of using the same doe foot for both of them. The other one is in BU, which is a bit lighter. Wait, what was this one? Wait, that's DTLA and that one was BU. Oh my gosh, I'm so confused. But it's probably because I've been using the same doe foot because I only have one, so the shades are mixing a little bit. But yeah, that one's DTLA, a little bit darker, a little bit more neutral, and then BU is, I would say right now at my fairest, a pretty good match and just a little bit more cool toned. That's kind of a mixture of the two. But yeah, aside from shade, the formula of this is really nice because it gives you medium to full coverage while not being drying or heavy under the eyes. It makes your under eyes look very plump and smooth. I think it's a really beautiful formula. I will be keeping both shades because they both work and I do really enjoy the formula, so 2 is better than 1 in my opinion. An old favorite is this Makeup Revolution IRL Filter Finish Concealer. I have 2 shades, C4 and C1, and neither shade is quite right for me. There's C1, it's a pretty good match, a little bit light, and then C4 right now is a little bit too dark and too rosy. As the name would suggest, it's a soft matte concealer that is not drying under the eyes. It gives you good medium, almost full coverage, and it doesn't excessively crease. It hardly creases at all on my skin. You don't have to set it if you have dry skin. I think it's really underrated actually. I do think that this shade is just way too dark, so I'm going to declutter C4, although as you can see I have used a good bit of it, so I don't feel too bad about getting rid of it. I've also had this one for a really long time, a year and a half maybe. I don't know, I lose track of time nowadays, but it's been here probably for at least a year, so it's probably nearing the end of its life. It's hard to tell with its smell if it's gone bad because this concealer, if I'm being honest, already has a pretty disgusting smell. It smells like paint, but it dissipates within, you know, a minute or so. So I don't love the smell, but I love the formula and I just think it's really nice. Easy, no frills concealer. So yeah, I'm gonna keep this one. Alright, next we have the Urban Decay Quickie Concealer. This is one of the few concealers that, or I should say one of the few full coverage concealers that can work for more dry skin. It's not perfect. If you have active dry patches, then this is going to accentuate those. So if I'm having an extremely dry moment where my skin is like literally flaking, which it has been at the moment, this does not work. But I mean, I'm asking a lot for a concealer. I have the shade 20NN, and this shade is a pretty good match for me in the winter because it's a bit light, but I almost feel like this formula would be better suited for my skin in the summer, you know, when my skin's a little bit more normal, just sweaty. I wish I had a deeper shade in this because, like I said, I think I would get a lot more use out of it in the summertime. But I don't know if I'm ready to say goodbye to it just yet. Last time I used this, it was looking very, very, very heavy and just not good on my skin right now in the winter when it matches me. So I'm in a tough spot. It's like, I like the shade, but the formula is not right for the season, but the shade is not right for the season that it would be best suited for. Does that make sense? So I think this is one I'm going to hold on to for now. When it works for me, it works really well. When it doesn't work for me, it doesn't. So I don't know how else to explain it other than that, but yeah, I'm gonna keep it for now. Okay, next we have Natasha Denona hy-glam. If you are not a new subscriber, you will know that this was one of my favorite discoveries last year. The reason why I loved it and still love it a lot is that it is one of the few high coverage, full coverage concealers that works for my dry, dehydrated skin. It's hydrating, but not too greasy. It stays in place pretty well, and it gives you amazing coverage. The one downside to this concealer is that it's really easy to overdo. I find that even if I try to be light-handed, hi Marb. Even if I try to be light-handed, I tend to overdo it, and when I do that, it looks heavy. It just does. It's a full coverage concealer. It's a little bit more of a thicker formula, thicker, more creamy feeling. So it does crease and it can accentuate texture more so than maybe something that has a light or medium coverage. I do have two shades, YP3. I don't think either of these shades is actually the best match for me. They're both much too warm. I'm struggling with my undertone. I've always felt that I was a warm undertone, but a lot of times things that have actually more gray in them tend to, in my eyes, blend into my skin better. But things that have a pink undertone look completely off. I'm wondering, do I have a cool undertone but not rosy? Maybe a cool olive? I'm not sure. The yellow stands out on my skin and pinks stand out on my skin, but grays seem to work well. I don't know. Does anyone else have that issue? I feel like I'm alone here. And then the other shade I have is Y2, which is so yellow. Oh my goodness, so funny. You can see this one's more peachy, this one's more yellow. Ugh, conflicted. What happens when I mix them? I'm just intrigued. Yeah, this concealer, honestly, I probably should declutter one, but this concealer was so expensive. And I bought this with my own money, and I do really love the formula, so I just make the shade work. So I think since they're still both good, I'm going to use them. But if I were to ever repurchase, definitely I would be picking up a different shade. I know we haven't decluttered much, but here I know we can definitely make some cuts because one, I've had this concealer for a very long time, and two, I have entirely way too many shades. As you can see, I don't need this many of this concealer. So this is the NYX Bear With Me Serum Concealer, and I do really enjoy the formula of this concealer. It is not an all-time favorite, just because similar to the Natasha Denona, it's a bit easy to overdo it. I think part of that has to do with the packaging. This concealer has a pump, which in my opinion pumps out way too much product, way more than you need to apply under your eyes. So it's really difficult to get the right amount, and if you apply too much, then it does crease a lot because it is more hydrating. However, for a more hydrating serum concealer, it is pretty smoothing under the eyes and it stays in place pretty well. Also gives you pretty nice, I would say, solid medium coverage. So I do enjoy this formula. Again, not one of my favorites. However, this shade in light is brand new, and it just so happens to be one of the best shade matches. There we go. See, it's a little bit more gray. I don't know what it is about these gray tones, but they just seem to really suit my skin for some reason. And yeah, the shade of this is pretty olivey. It has a almost cool olive undertone, I would say. It's not pink, but it's definitely not warm. For nothing else, I would keep this just for the shade because I think it's pretty spot on to my complexion. Maybe a little bit more pink than my skin, but still pretty close. And it's brand new, so I know it hasn't gone off. So I am going to keep this one in light. The other shades, however, I have had for a long time, and I just don't think I need all of these. Like, here's another light. I don't need that because I have a new one, and I have two others. This one is in beige. Let's see. It's a bit warmer and a little deep. And then I also have vanilla, which now that I'm swatching it, does vanilla look like a better match for me? This has a little bit more warmth to it, but not oranginess. Yeah, I think I'll keep vanilla and light, and I'll get rid of beige because I just don't need 3 shades of this formula, and I feel like these 2 are going to suit me the best. So we'll keep 2 and declutter 2. Next up is another favorite formula, the Joah Perfect Complexion Eye Serum Concealer. Another hidden gem at the drugstore. This is a gorgeous ultra smoothing and blurring concealer that's not drying. Gives you light to medium coverage, stays in place all day, barely creases. It's really good. The only downside is the shade range. The shade range stinks. I have 2 shades, FC045 and LN035. Right now, this one is a little bit too deep for me. However, FC045 can be a little bit light, so I kind of mixed the 2. It did originally come with a sponge, which I actually quite liked for applying the concealer. I know a lot of people have problems with the hygienic aspect of it, and so my sponge was just getting crusty, dusty, and gross. So I did pull mine off, and I've just been sort of twisting up the product and squirting it onto the back of my hand, and then, you know, stamping my brush in and applying it that way, and it works just fine. You can see I've used the Dickens out of this one. I'm almost done with it, which is super satisfying, but also sad because I don't want to be without this concealer, but I am running low because I just used it like crazy. So I'm not going to declutter, obviously. It's one of my favorites, and I'm almost done, which is super satisfying. And then next up we have the L'Oreal True Match Serum Concealer. I have 2 shades, N1 and W3. So there's N1. It actually looks a little bit more warm to me than neutral. Has a little bit of yellowiness to it. That one's a pretty good match for me right now in the winter, maybe a tad bit light. And N3 is a pretty good match for me in the summer, but it does have a bit of pinkiness to it. So I think I'm going to declutter W3 and keep N1. This doesn't look very warm to me, I guess in the sense that it has some rosiness, maybe red, but it looks more pink, which in my mind is cool tone, so it's not quite the right undertone for my skin. So I'm going to pass this along to someone else who can get more use out of it because it is relatively new in my collection. So I want to make sure someone can use it before it goes bad. Okay, so we are decluttering 4, not too shabby, mostly just for shade reasons. I would say I don't really keep too many formulas in my collection that I don't enjoy. So I do enjoy all of these. It's just the shades aren't quite right. And these are all the concealers I'm going to be keeping. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. 11, decluttered 4. So not too bad, not too bad. I would say that there are some that are questionable. Urban Decay, maybe one of these, Natasha Denona. If this wasn't so expensive, I would have gotten rid of one more shade, but I just can't bring myself to do it. I will make it work for how much I paid for it. So I feel pretty good about this. All of these formulas are ones that I truly enjoy. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this little declutter. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see some more declutters. Stay tuned. I hope you guys are doing super well. I love you all so much, and I'll catch you in my next video. Bye-bye.